She was introduced to many of us on season 2 of Drag Race Down Under, the better season of the two, and she's here to chat it up with me. Giddy up, motherfucker. Her name is Beverly Kills, and she's about to be exposed. Yes! How are you doing, Beverly?
I am wonderful. We're just about to start the onslaught of Halloween shows. So like every drag queen that is in existence is about to be very busy. But I think I'm starting the week off right. So thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be exposed.
Of course. Wait, so when you are doing your like Halloween shows and stuff, are you dressing as characters or are you just yourself? Like, how is it working?
Well, it sort of gets to the point where it's like, for gays, doing one costume is hard enough. Like they're tossing up between like, am I going to be a footballer? Am I going to be a cowboy? Or am I going to be Ghostface with my cock out? But for drag queens, it's like, we have one face, but we have like 4 different shows that night. So it's like, I have to figure out something that can work for every sort of show. So I sort of, the good thing about drag is like, I can kind of just be like, oh, I put on like a heavy brow tonight. Ooh, scary. Like, and it passes the test.
What would not pass the test?
Of Halloween drag? I reckon, okay, I'm going to get controversial here. If you're in drag for Halloween, you've done the right thing. But I was talking, my partner and I, we had like a dinner party last week. And I was talking to my friends. I was like, oh, like, because, you know, I'm headlining this Halloween show in Brisbane and they're coming along. I was like, what are you going to wear? Like, show me your outfits. And they're like, oh, we've got like mesh shirts and like a jock strap. And I was like, that is not Halloween. It's not Halloween. I'm putting my boyfriend up in full head to toe drag. And
Yes.
these faggots are like, oh, I'm scary. I'm wearing a mesh shirt. No. Dress up. That's my PSA. Dress up for Halloween. Oh my God, dress up for Halloween. Have some respect.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just went to a party, was it like I think Thursday or Friday night of last week. And I get there and I'm like fully decked out in my Terrifier, like get up. I am excited. And literally probably 50% of the party was just in regular clothes. And I was like, this is what kills the mood. Do not come if you're not dressed up.
It sounds like I don't know much about like the LA gays, but it just sounds like the LA gays are either like full commit to the costume or it's like, I'm just going to go out in a jockstrap and like, I'm a zombie.
Yeah.
Brr.
It's that last minute thinking.
Yeah. Everyone's seen that meme where it's like, gays on Halloween, they're all wearing harnesses and it's like, he's a cowboy. That's a zombie. That's Princess Diana. And they're all just in jockstraps.
They're all the same thing. So going off the non-Halloween part now, were you born in Brisbane or were you live there now?
Yeah. Well, I was born on the Gold Coast. Ironically enough, born on the Gold Coast on Halloween.
You were born on Halloween?
Yeah, baby. You can never forget my birthday. And it means that I never get a birthday off. Ever. Ever. But yeah, so I'm born on the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast is like the Gold Coast is sort of like the Florida of Australia. It's like, it's pretty hot, a little bit conservative, but it's like all the theme parks, the beaches, it's very fun. The drag is very fun, showgirly, colourful, big costumes. But I ended up moving to Brisbane just because it's like a bigger city, it's more gay, and there's no gay clubs permanently on the Gold Coast. It's one of those it's got the curse of they build a gay club and then like 2 months later it just gets knocked down because there's not enough patrons in the city to come. But in Brisbane there's fucking poofters everywhere, so I feel right at home. So yeah, it works.
So have you watched The Mole, like the Mole on Netflix?
On Netflix, everyone is talking about it, and I keep seeing things on Twitter, but I don't want to read it because I might get spoiled. But no, I haven't watched it.
They shot in Australia, and I had no idea that you guys have snow in some parts.
It snows in Canberra, which is our capital. It's like the Washington.
Yeah. I was like, what? I was like, you're not in Australia right now.
Everyone, I don't know what it is. I reckon I blamed Down Under season one because
Mhm.
their like promo poster was them in the middle of the
Yeah.
desert. And I'm like, that is not accurate. Like, no one, like, if I turn my camera around, there is a city and a bridge and a river. Like, we're not riding kangaroos to work. It doesn't work like that,
Wait,
you know.
wait, kangaroos. Okay. I have never seen a kangaroo in real life, and I've said this. It's been my goal to see one. And then when I told that to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, told me that it's awful and they're awful and they drown people.
Yeah, so kangaroos are they're not pests because they're native to Australia, that they are violent and like aggressive and that you don't if you see a kangaroo, they're not cute and cuddly. Koalas are the same. Like if you see a koala on the side of the road, don't fucking go near it because that cunt's gonna nah, don't do it. But if you go to like you can because it's funny because all of the international drag race girls when they come to Brisbane they go to our koala sanctuary and those are the like the domesticated koalas. So they're
Yes.
like the cute cuddly ones you get a picture with. Um, yeah, but yeah, there's you have to look for them. They're not running around the streets. It's not. We're a very civilized society here down under. We're not totally living in the desert.
I love that we just have the total like misconception of what Australia is. I mean, you have, Steve Irwin and Crocodile Dundee, and then everybody believes that's what it is. And obviously it's not.
No, yeah. Well, I didn't go to America, but I went to Canada with my partner earlier in the year, and it made me realize that we're actually quite similar. We're very different in many aspects, but like Australia and like North America, there's not
Mhm.
not too far apart. So
I can see that. So, getting to your childhood, and
mm.
literally, I was going to be like, well, how long have you been doing drag? And then I was like, well, crap, you were on the show and you said you're 21. So, I'm guessing you're about to turn 22.
Yeah, about to be 22. Yeah.
About to be 22. So, when did you actually start drag? How old were you?
Um, I was 18. I was a fresh little adult, and because in Australia you can, go to the
Hmm.
clubs as an 18-year-old and you can drink as an 18-year-old. I remember my first. It might have been like it was like a day after turning 18, and a few of my friends were like, "Oh, we bought tickets for this Halloween show. It's 2 days after you're 18, so you can come to the show with us." And I'm like, "What is it?" They're like, "Oh, it's a drag show." And then like a couple months later, I was like, "Oh, I should probably watch the TV show that all these drag queens run," and it was fucking Drag Race. And it was like my second day after being 18, and all of these, I think it was like Alaska, Miss Cracker, Shea Coulee. They're the people that I can remember. And they had like a Halloween show, and I was just watching it, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like this is really sick." And over that time, I'd watched the show and like gotten to learn about it. And later that night, they had like the after party in the same nightclub, and it was hosted by a drag queen in Brisbane, and her name is Volley Levant, and there was another performer called Luna Thick. And now I work with those girls, and they were the people that like helped me get ready for Drag Race. So it's funny how like
Oh.
I would have if you had told me like when I went out there like you'd be on the TV show and like these are going to be the people that would I would never have believed you because I was just in the crowd watching having a nice time. Um, and then eventually I was like, you know what? Um, that looks like fun and I want to do it and free drinks and free entry sounds like a good time to me. So I did it and it's funny how like a lot of people when you start drag it doesn't leave your life because you can buy the wigs and you buy the costumes and there's just something in you that you can't get rid of it. So once you start drag it's in your life and it's there to stay. So I picked it up and I just had a good time with it and I never stopped. So yeah, it's it's fun and then it turned into fun that I get paid to have. So
Yes.
brilliant.
How
Fucking
did
great.
you learn how to do your makeup? Did somebody teach you? Did you learn on the internet? Like, what was that process like? Because that to me would be the worst thing ever because I've tried it multiple times and I look awful.
It's not easy. I'll send you. You can superimpose a picture. I'll send it to you. I'm gonna say first year in drag was a true test of the human spirit of how bad someone could be at makeup. It was like, for some reason, it just never clicked with me. Because even when I was in like high school, I was like, you'd call it like an art major. Like art was like my forte. But I never painted. I never did drawings. It was all like digital work because I didn't have any of the skills with color or anything like that. So it took a while to get here, and I had a lot of girls in my city give me a light tap on the shoulder, like when I start, like, "Hey, like, do you need any help with makeup with starting drag, and because I was like ignorant and just so excited about drag, I'm like, no, I'm fine, I'm great at makeup. But eventually I had a couple sit me down and be like, all right, we're teaching you how to block your eyebrows today. Like they had to physically put a stop to my torment of how terrible I looked. But it was so kind. It was so kind. It was like, hey, Queen, like you're killing the performances, but we'd love for you to like look good.
You got one part down. Now get the other part down.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is most drag queens start off with like the one skill. They can either perform or they can do makeup or they're funny on the microphone or they can sing. And then you sort of slowly build those other skills. It just sucked that my makeup skills were so terrible. They were like, all right, we're going to help you. But yeah, shout out to the queens in Brisbane that helped me.
So you apply for Drag Race. You get on the second season. Had you watched the first season?
Of course I had. Yeah.
What was your
funny.
opinion?
I loved it. Honestly, like so many people have had disappointments with the season, and I totally understand that. And I have probably a lot of the same disappointments that they might have as well. But honestly, the fact that it existed and it was there, and that like my community, well, not exactly my community, and I'll tell you why, but my community was like represented. It was just exciting for me because for so long, Drag Race was telling the American story or the British story, and finally, like Down Under got to be represented. So it was just really exciting, to be honest. I remember the very first episode came out, and I was about to do a gig, and I like watched the whole thing, and I was like, I have to do this. Like, let's go. But I didn't get approached for the first season, but a bunch of my like drag sisters in Brisbane did. Obviously none of us got on. And then so when the second season rolled around, I think a lot of them were expecting it to be one of them. Mm-hmm. So when I got the call, everyone was like, who the fuck is this bitch? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't think I was expected, out of everyone in my community, I don't think I was expected to be the one to represent. But so yeah, I think it ruffled some feathers and confused some people, but at the end of the day, like, I've championed Brisbane like as much as I can with this show because I truly love my city so much. We're a really strong community, and like just it was great to get to bring a bit of Brisbane to Drag Race. Like what a special treat, right? Like so cool.
And you walked into the workroom and you made a big entrance. I mean, you you said "Giddy up, motherfucker," and then you had a fucking whip.
Giddy up, motherfucker.
I have to know, are you familiar with the whip, or did you learn the whip just for this?
No, well, I had performed with whips before. As I started like drag, I sort of learned about drag first, essentially. But the more I did drag, the more I found myself getting booked for gigs with burlesque performers or sideshow performers. And I found that like drag's great, but I can learn only so much from fellow drag queens, because then it gets to the point where like every drag queen is the same, you know, and like that conversation is starting to be had, which is there too much drag? Is it oversaturated? Are we all just referencing each other at this point? Because so many drag queens start and they're like, I want to be like the drag queen on the TV. And I was sort of one of those queens. I don't think it's an issue. Anyway, I met all these burlesque and sideshow performers, and they were the people that I like to think that I cut my teeth that way. Like I learned burlesque and I learned how to crack a whip. I learned how to eat fire. And it was just because they were like, this drag queen she's got an open mind. She loves what she does. So yeah. And I was like, let's bring it to Drag Race. No one else has done it. Cool.
I was so nervous. I was like, you're going to hit somebody. Oh my gosh. Can you just imagine Spanky Jackson's going to get hit by your whip?
Well, I was so nervous. I was worried that when I cracked it, there wasn't going to, because as we know, the workroom in Australia is quite small, or the Down Under one. And I actually asked before I went in, I asked the production people for like the measurements. So in my like hotel room, I like marked the measurements on the wall with my tape measure. And I was cracking my whip in my hotel room just to see if I would hit the sides. And I did not hit the sides. So I walked into that workroom confidently and just went for it.
Can you imagine if you walked in and it was much smaller of a workroom than what you imagined, and you were like, oh no, now I have to hit the wall.
I know, my biggest nightmare, I was like, if I'm the queen that is confident enough to rock up and crack a whip and it like hits the wall and doesn't crack, I'm gonna get that like awkward, like trying too hard Queen edit, and it'll be just so shit. So I'm so grateful that I cracked it. Yeah, just had to do it once because I don't know. Faux screamed very loudly. Earth-shattering screams from Faux Fur. But yeah, if I did it anymore, I don't think it would have had the same like effect.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Fofer was the one who had the issue with the entrance room with her hat kept falling down. So
Yeah. Oh my God. So they were telling me about it. Like, you know, we finished sort of the first day, and they were talking about the entrances that because not everyone gets to see it, and I didn't see
Yeah.
Foe's. And Foe was like, "Oh, my hat fell down," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure it won't be that bad." And she was like, "I got to redo it, so I don't think they'll add the version where my hat fell down." And I was looking at her, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, they won't." And in my head, I'm like, "They're gonna air it, you stupid bitch! Like they're so gonna add that." Like,
So you are on the show, you are tracking along, and there were a lot of moments with you that I kind of related to on some level, but also I felt that I was a little confused by what was happening in the workroom. You did have a confrontation with Queen Kong, and you said, I've never seen Queen Kong like this. Usually she's the beautiful maternal figure, and this week she's a cunt. So I would love to know from you, had you known Queen before then, and then like you get into the workroom and it's a totally different person? Like what was the moment and everything that you were noticing?
well, I hadn't known Queen Kong very well, but we'd worked together before. Queen's is like one of the most successful queens, especially before the show. She was, you know, traveling around Australia, even around the world, doing circus acts and drag, and everyone sort of has met Queen Kong at least once or twice. And we kept in contact online, and we sort of figured out that we might be seeing each other.
Yeah.
You know, we worked together a couple months before we went away, and I kind of gave her the look of like, "What are you getting up to in January?" She's like, "Oh, not much, girl. What are you doing?" We figured each other out. But and she's always been lovely, and she's always been that person that everyone talks about, which is like Mama Kong or things like that. But ultimately, like, I think the one thing that I do regret is like putting that expectation for her to still be like that in a completely different environment. Like, I definitely like would have loved to have like sort of had a friend there, but at the end of the day, she's there to compete just as much as I was.
Yeah.
So I think it was unfair for me to like put that expectation on her that like, oh, like if we're competing, but you still got to be nice to me. And the truth is, she doesn't have to. Like, I've had a few people talk to me about, like, I had a few of my friends, and especially Queens of Color, like, be like, "Hey, girl, like, I think what you did was a microaggression." And in my head, I'm like, "I'm not a racist. Like, there can't be."
Yeah.
But the more that we spoke about it and I learned about it, I was like, "Oh, well, that makes total sense," because I wouldn't have probably put that expectation on someone else. So as much as it sucked to have had to like go through that experience on TV, the truth is that I've got to make that mistake so many other people can like learn for the future. And I think that was more important for me to show that than it was for me to like win the fight. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you had that moment with your friends and that your friends could even tell you that, you know, like, because
Yeah, that's why I'm with their friends. They call my shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And you took it well, so that's good too. You know, I think that a lot of times we can come from places just like you said. At first you were like, wait, you know, I'm not racist or I'm not this and that. But there are things that are coherently like put into our heads as young children, or if we are around things and we get so used to certain cultures and ethnicities around us that we don't necessarily look at what is in front of our face. And I think that is exactly kind of like what happened there. But I would like to know, did the fandom react negatively, positively? Like, what was that like after that moment?
Gosh, it was so mixed. Like, Kong and I both probably got the same amount of love and hate from different people. Like, I had people tagging, and I don't know, Drag Race fans, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, but you do not need to tag our like Instagrams in your shitty opinions. We don't care. But like they tag us. It's so weird.
It's so
like,
mean.
The whole show they'll tag us like at Beverly Kills, "You're a horrible cunt and I hope you die." And then the next one will be like, at Queen Kong, "You were a horrible person at Beverly Kills. You should be ashamed." And I'm like, leave us alone. But we probably got the same amount, to be honest. Like, people would come to Kong's defense, they'd come to my defense. And at the end of the day, like, Kong and I, that was like 8 months prior, and we've done like so many gigs together. We've hung out. We're friends now. So it's like, it's kind of funny that it kind of like, you have to sort of relive it. And we were kind of like, we just checked in with each other, like, you're right. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. It was just really funny to like relive those moments like so long after the fact. It was very strange. But at the end of the day, like the entire cast and crew, like we all work together, we all get along. We were all at my nightclub last night getting very drunk, and it was great.
So another kind of like subcategory of the Queen Kong confrontation and everything was there were girls who basically told you that you were putting on an act or you were not being your authentic and true self. And I know for one that that must be extremely hard to hear at one point, because it's like, well, you don't know who I am. You have no idea who I am on the inside. So if I'm acting a certain way or doing something, then why is that an issue to you? Watching yourself back on the television, do you agree with them or do you still stand by that you were yourself on the show?
No, I don't agree with them. We've spoken about it since, and I think they've sort of understood why. And the truth is, I think the main person who said that I wasn't authentic was Hannah. But I had never worked with Hannah before. I hadn't met her. The entire show, we weren't in the same hosting. We weren't in for the hosting challenge, the acting challenge, or the girl group. We'd never worked together. So I was like, well, of course you don't know who I am. Like, you don't know anything about me because you don't know how I work. So I just felt that, and the truth is that moment from Hannah came at a point where she was probably winning the challenge and I was probably going home that week. So it just kind of felt like unnecessary, to be honest. Yeah. And that's why I snapped at her, because I was like, this is so pointless. Like, fuck off. So that's why I said it. Putting on an act, what didn't get aired was Molly coming to my defense. And Molly was like my ride or die throughout the competition. Oh. And Molly really came to my defense, and she was like, well, you guys don't actually understand what Bev's like. And I do. And this is who she is. Like, she is witty and she's a really dry sense of humor. She's very emotional, but she wears her heart on her sleeve. But I've always been like that. And it's just because the truth, the way I operate is just based on, I'll always be honest to you. I'll always be loyal to you. I'll never lie to you. And those things are much more important than like putting on the face of like, oh, I'm a drag queen on the TV. I'd rather just be honest, to be honest. Yeah. So yeah, it was hard to hear. And rewatching it back, it was also hard to rewatch because it makes you really second guess who you are. And I don't think she realized how much that did hurt me in the moment, because I was just doing my best and I was just doing my best to be present. And I don't know why my best wasn't enough. And I still to this day don't actually know what she wanted from me in that moment. It didn't make any sense. Like Kong's grievances with me made total sense, but Hannah's didn't make any sense to me, and they still don't. We've kind of just like gotten over it now. We kind of just brought it down to the fact that it was top 5 and it was very, very nitty gritty, as we say. But in that moment, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, this is so pointless. It makes no sense. And also, I'm about to go home, so just let me be, And
then you have to watch it back all over again and relive everything, and then have all that in that moment all over again, which is awful. Did you listen to Race Chaser cover your season, or did you not do that?
Alaska messaged me and said, like, you're amazing. She gave me a follow. She's like, Willem and I loved you watching you on this season. Sending love, whatever. And I was like, oh, weird. Like, that's so nice. And I told one of my friends, and they were like, oh, they are very opinionated about you on Race Chaser. I think I listened to my final episode, so episode 6.
Because they said something. They basically were theorizing that, like, production basically was taking advantage of your honesty. Do you see it that way, or did you see it that way at all?
Maybe a little bit, but like I genuinely just am this person. So I've just kind of always just been a very like upfront and honest person, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people bring it down to, some people have used the word like, oh, she's like too young or she doesn't get it. And I'm like, well, yeah, like I'm still got a lot to learn, and I know that about myself. But the other fact is, this is just who I am. Like that, I'm going to be this person, even if I am more experienced. I still am, like, to the queens that are like younger than me in Brisbane, they all, at least I hope, they all quite like me because I'm very honest with them. And I talk to them. If they ask for advice, I'm going to give them really stern but realistic advice and say, if you want to do this, you need to do these things. Or if you want to do this, you cannot do that. And And I think I'll still be that person in 10, 20, 15 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny because Minnie and I are quite similar in that regard. She's like, Minnie has sent me like videos of her when she was like mentoring or judging competitions. And even though Minnie is, I think she's 30, I think she's about 30 years older than me. I'm like, we are the same person. So I don't think it's an age thing. It's just who I am. Were production taking advantage of my honesty? Maybe a little bit. And if I were to do All Stars, would I have that in the back of my head? 1000%. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm just being myself. So, and if anything, when people say like, oh, she was putting on a something for the cameras, and I'm like, well, you're hiding parts of yourself for the cameras. I'm just being me. So whatever, you do you, boo, as Spanky says.
Well, speaking of young, you were too young to see Muriel's wedding. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I know. I've seen it now.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. So many people have come out of the woodwork, and they've come out only in privately to me, but they're like, I've also not seen Muriel's wedding, and they're around us. They are around us.
Well, I haven't seen it, so there you go. So
Look, there is a reason why RuPaul was so offended, and it's because it's a really good film.
I'll add that to the queue for tonight. Speaking of Ru, was Ru actually there?
Okay, I'm going to prove to you how I know Ru was there, and it was because she smelt rich. Like, just anytime she was there, I was like, wow. Yeah, she was really tall, and she smelled lovely.
I always wonder when people keep saying that, and I guess I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, it's just a small set. Like, at the end of the day, you can't have 90 cameras in there how you might have with the US or the UK version, so it's a smaller set.
And they're still figuring, like, how, like, the show works as well. Like, they're not going to have everything. Like, I'm sure on the very first season, their number one priority was not trying to prove to the audience that RuPaul genuinely came to New Zealand. And he did. And it was funny because I was part of the group that I was like, maybe he's not here. And they're about to be like, all right, everyone, sign this NDA to say that you won't say that RuPaul wasn't here. And he just walked in. I was just there, and we were standing there in our entrance outfits, and he just walks in. I went, bitch, I was wrong. He's really here. Like, wow.
They have a hologram come in. Good day, good day, good day.
It was so funny because I hope I'm not telling tales out of school, so World of Wonder doesn't sue me. They line us up, and they're like, is everyone ready for Ru's entrance? And we're like, yes! And then the door opens, and we're like, ah! And then out walks, like, just some random PA. And they did that to get all of our reactions together. And then they reshot it with Ru, who did it like 5 minutes later. But they gagged us. So I was thinking that RuPaul was about to walk through, and it was just some dude with a COVID mask just being like, no. But yeah, they got our reactions at least. So it just would have shown that we all would have done this. Doesn't matter who walked through the door. We just would have done it anyway.
The same with the guest judges. Today we have Timothy Dada. Who?
And I'm like, yes! Oh my God, I loved them in the film, song, TV show. What did they do? I love them.
Are you ready for some fan questions?
Let's do it.
This is from Mad Jad. I loved your runways, but my question is, do you know why the eliminated queens didn't get to come back at the grand finale episode and show their runways like they do in other seasons?
Well, it was. I loved my finale dress. I was so disappointed I didn't get to show it. But it's COVID. Like, you know, we filmed in a different country. You know, because Australia and New Zealand, contrary to popular beliefs, we are two separate countries. So I had to fly from Brisbane to Sydney to Auckland. So yeah, it's a different country. So they can't. It's very expensive to keep everyone there. Mm-hmm. COVID. We filmed right in the middle of the third strain, like the Omicron strain. So like, when I flew over, I can put up a picture or something. When I flew over, I was the only person in like my cabin on the plane. So we were in the middle of the air, and it's just me and about 30 rows of empty seats. Yeah, it was very strange. Business class was full because they're all, you know, business people doing.
They want that.
They can afford it. But it was just me and like one other person in like economy, just sitting with like hundreds of free seats in the middle of the air. So they filmed it in a very, very COVID heavy time. So we all had to go. Wasn't safe.
I always wonder, like, if COVID didn't happen, would Drag Race be as oversaturated as it is now?
Don't know.
Because I think about it and I'm like, well, the reason why I feel that way sometimes is because I had all the free time to watch all the shows on WoW. You know, like I could be like, oh, well, there's Drag Race Canada or this and that. You know, you watch it there.
I don't know. Maybe. I think that was a lot of the reason why people have noticed that season 1 and season 2 have had a really big decrease in viewership. And I don't think it's due to lack of quality. I just think people have less time now because the world sort of opened back up. But when season 1 aired, Sydney and Melbourne were still in lockdown. So everyone just watched Drag Race, you know? Whereas now people are getting on with their lives.
Yeah. Next question is from SB. We really need to know about the lip sync to the beginning. Like, what was happening?
Well, I was like, it was sort of at the point where I knew it was like going to be me and Kong. And I was like, if we're going to do a lip sync to a Rupaul song, like, could we at least get like Call Me Mother or something more upbeat? Because we would have like, that would have been earth shattering lip syncing. But like, I was about to like, I was very upset, obviously, that episode. Like, I had just like been told that I was fake and I was like, fuck all of you, I hate you, I'm going. So when I was lip syncing, I actually start the lip sync by like walking to the back of the stage. And there is a little thing in the back of my head that's like, I should just keep walking. I should just walk off. I don't want to fight. I'm done fighting. I'm so tired. And then and then there's something in me. I'm like, oh my God, that's so disrespectful. Turn around and do the lip sync. So I did it. And I was just going to like kind of bop around and finish the lip sync because I'd sort of already I'd done tricks in like the other lip syncs and whatever. And then when Kong started doing her stunts, I was like, all right, bitch, let's go. Like, if you want to fight, let's do it. So I was just like, I may as well just like show what I can do while I'm here. I knew no matter what happened, they were keeping Kong. Like, she had just done objectively better than I had. So I was like, all right, I'll just do some great tricks, have a great lip sync, and I'll politely leave.
I think that is a very odd RuPaul song to lip sync to. Also, I feel like sometimes I'm like, who comes up with these lip sync choices? Like, is when you get the iPod or whatever that you guys get, do you have more tracks than what episodes for the show?
I don't know if I can say that. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Next question is from John. Will you finally book a flight with an actual window seat?
Oh my God. Okay. So, for those of you who do not know, I am with Virgin, which is Australia's airline, and I'm premium member. Thank you so much, Drag Race. I'm now premium. But so I get like the priority and all that. But also it also means that you get priority in choosing where you sit, and I like to sit at the window. And I always forget that on Virgin planes, seat 9A does not have a window because there's the door there or the whatever. And I always just go, oh, window seat, great. And I just never think when I like book it. But anyway, so I love the window. I love to look out. I lie on it. I sleep. I rest. So when I get to my seat and it's just a wall and it's like sitting in like a jail cell for 2 hours while I'm flying to Sydney. Anyway, I'm going to ask Virgin to do like we'll collab. We'll do a sponsorship or something.
Yeah, do a sponsorship and it's called Windows Only.
Yeah, Windows Only, please. It's, you know what? This is why I'm so grateful for Drag Race, because that blue tick, you slide into anyone's DMs and they're like, yes, whatever you want. And I'm like, yes.
What would you say is the biggest misconception of Beverly Kills?
Oh, I knew this was I watched the other interviews and I knew this was coming. And I still don't have an answer. I think people know this about me. Like, people who've kept up with me or followed me or they watch my content, they would know this. But if you only watch the show, you wouldn't know this. I think the show made me look like I don't know how to have fun or something. Like, I remember watching it and I'm like, oh my God, I look really serious. Like, this is not me. And I had so many people, and even girls on the show, like I've had friends and people from the show, they messaged me being like, you do not look like you're having fun. And I was like, I was having a great time, but I guess it just didn't get shown. But like, Biggest misconception is like I don't know how to have fun, I guess, but yeah, I have a lot of fun.
What's
I am guilty of liking fun. Kill me. I'm so sorry. I like fun.
so? Would fans, if they came and saw you and they went and saw a Beverly Hills show, they see the fun that you're having? What is like a show that you would put on? Like, what are your go-to songs? Like, what is it?
So my go-to performance, and it's always the crowd goes nuts. It's a mashup of S&M by Rihanna and Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And they mash it together, and it's like the really like heavy like EDM of like S&M, and then it's like the really fast-paced rapping of like Megan Thee Stallion. And I do it in my entrance look, so it's like that neon green, and I just like crack my whip the whole time, just so they go nuts for it. It's fun.
Have you ever hit an audience member?
I like fun. Hey?
Have you ever hit an audience member?
No. Oh my gosh. So I've been cracking whips for like, I think 2 years now, and I've not hurt, I've not burnt anyone, I've not touched a single person with my whip. I'm glad I'm insured, but I'm like, there's going to be one day where some drunk fucking bitch is going to be like, oh, I'm going to run up on the stage too. I love the drag queens. And I'm just going to right in the eye.
So you said that you were waiting for that question. You knew that question was going to come. So here is another one that you probably knew was going to come. That sounds very sexual. So this show's called Exposed. So I would like for you to expose something that happened on the show. It could be good, bad, happy, sad, that didn't get shown on cameras. I've heard people say the craziest things to the moments that they've had with friends that they really loved. Is there something that you wish would have been shown on camera?
Yes, there is. So Australia's quite small. Like when I was in my quarantine hotel, and I had like pretty much figured out the cast. The only people I didn't know were the Kiwis, but everyone from Australia, I figured them out. I was like, she's inactive. She's not at her regular show, something. And I could just figure everyone out. Someone I figured out was Minnie Cooper. And I'd known Minnie just through, everyone just knows Minnie Cooper. Like she's been on TV before, she's not a stranger to that. So I learned about Minnie, and I look her up, and she has this brilliant, you can watch it on YouTube if you want to link it. It's her at like an awards night. She's telling her pretty much her life story. It's like a 20-minute video, and I watched it in my quarantine hotel. And by the end of it, I'm like bawling my eyes out because I'm gonna cry now. Minnie has a really, really brilliant life story, and especially with her drag, it really comes through with her drag. And I remember I was in isolation. I sent it to my parents, and I was like, you guys I'm about to meet this person, so like, this is really exciting. My parents were like, that's awesome. Like, you're very lucky to get to do this. So when I got to meet Minnie on that very first day, I got a bit like overwhelmed, and I sat her down and I was like, you have no idea like the impact that you've had. Unless she does know, then whatever. But she has had such an impact on like the Australian drag scene, and I didn't really realize how much impact she has had until I like researched her and looked her up. And so I met her, and we were like in front of the mirrors, we're taking our makeup off, and I was bawling my eyes out, being like, it's just so good to meet you, and I'm just happy, you're amazing, I have so much respect for you. And Minnie's, and you know what Minnie's like, she's like, stop crying, you dickhead. I'm like, sorry, it's fine. But we had like a really beautiful moment together, and it was really interesting to see that they edited it like I hated old people or something like that. Well, actually, it wasn't really. I think it was Aubrey and Yuri, and then I was just kind of like a bit of a bystander. But I really wish they showed that, because it really would have set up, I think, a bit more of a clue as to what my relationship with Minnie would end up being like. And we're best mates now. We talk shit all the time. We're besties. But yeah, I found it really interesting that they didn't include that bit, because I thought it was like a really special moment. But I guess they needed to like make our relationship make sense. So when we did butt heads, I think it might not have made as much sense if we started the season like that. And also it would also show that I knew she was going to be cast. So I think that's a bit naughty. So
it was like the no.
I knew you were going to be here. Like, yeah.
So I haven't asked this question in a very long time since the first of my interviews. And then one time somebody commented and goes, "That's a really rude question to ask." But I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
Are you truly happy?
What if I said I wasn't? What if I'm not? I dress up and put my dick between my legs to work. Do I look happy? Is this the face of mental stability?
Were you the one who commented that on my video? I knew it.
No! No. Am I happy? Yes, very. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I took that a bit too far. I fucked my camera. Hang on. There you go. Yes, of course I am. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm happy. Like, I have a great job. I've got great friends, great family, great partner. I'm a good cat. I get to do drag. I get paid for it. I get to travel. It's fun. I'm very happy.
You have a cat?
I think I'm happier than most. Yeah, she's somewhere over there, being an asshole.
Being an asshole. And you have a partner. How long you and your boy been together?
Almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
That's 76 years in gay years.
I know. We're basically about to get retired together. But it's great. It's I don't know what America's like, but Australia we have like the phrase is drag husbands. So
Okay.
like so like any queen with like a boyfriend or a partner, he's your drag. He's not my husband, but he's my drag husband.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we go to a gig, he's the one carrying my bags and like I'm the glamorous one in front. He's like taking all my shit. So
Does he still like cheer you on and stuff like when you're like performing?
Yeah, absolutely. He has a day walker job. So he's not at the club and he's not traveling with me every gig, but he's like a quiet supporter that I know I've always got back home. But he was my date. Let me do a picture. He was my date to like the premiere, and we wore matching outfits, and yeah, he's great. He's great. It's funny. It's not. He loves drag, but he would support me no matter what I did. So even if it was something different to drag, he would just support what I do because it's me. But he gets free drinks and free entry sometimes, so he'll take it where he can. Yeah, he gets free tickets.
What would that be if you weren't doing drag? You said he would support you no matter what. So what would your job be if you weren't doing drag?
I honestly think I would be like a teacher or educator of some sort. I used to be, before I went full time with drag, I was a high school tutor. So I was like tutoring kids in like, that actually got brought up on the show and it didn't get put in the edit. But Rue asked me, I like about my family. I spoke about my dad. And I was like, oh, like I learnt like public speaking from my dad, who was like a presenter and like salesperson. And he taught me like the gift of speaking, I suppose. So then I taught that for work. Like I taught high school students like public speaking and debating, and that was my job for a bit. Yeah. And now it's funny because people have like parents of children I taught have now like seen what I do, and I think they're very like, what happened to our tutor? Like I'm like some like evil burlesque sexy drag queen. And they're
like, it was the kids who did this. It was your kids.
I know. They were like, this person was in my house speaking with my child, and I'm like, hello.
So what is next? What's coming down the pipeline for Miss Beverly Kills?
Ooh, gosh, oh God, so much. If that like in the Drag Race canon, I'd love to do All Stars. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think I've met a single. Actually, that's a lie. I'll let them just say who they are. But like, so many people are so pro All Stars, and so many girls are like, you know what? I had my run. I did what I wanted to do. It's not for me. But I just kind of feel like I rewatched that show back, and even in the past 6 months, I've like learnt a lot more about like not just TV, but I've learnt more just about drag. Like I was still learning like the basic lessons of drag, like whilst on Drag Race, if that makes any sense. Like I'd only been doing drag for like 3 years, so since the show, it's been like a quarter of my career, which is like a long time. Yeah. Whereas for some people, you know, they had done drag for 12 years before and then they did Drag Race. So their post Drag Race experience is they've only learnt what Drag Race can teach. Whereas I've learnt like just so much still. So I'd love to just show off like what I've learned and what I love about drag as well. But aside from that, we have, wait, hang on. I've got stuff I can say and then there's stuff I can't. Traveling a lot, performing at World Pride, which will be exciting. So World Pride is in Sydney.
That's exciting.
Yeah, World Pride's in Sydney. So I'm going to perform at World Pride, which is very exciting. It's not been announced where, so I'll just follow me and you'll see where I'll be. I've got a one-woman show coming to a fringe festival. I won't say which one, but that's coming. But yeah, it's all very exciting. It's sort of at the point now where I'm like, I used to like want, this time last year before I was on the show, I was like, oh, I want more drag work. Like I want to work more, I want to do more shows. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, oh my God, I need someone to take my gigs away from me because it's too much. But like, I love it. Like I could do this. If I could do this every single day, I would. I've also got a YouTube channel because I have decided that the fifth eliminated or the alternate queen has decided to make a YouTube channel, which apparently no one's done before. So I'm going to make lots of content and like, I love watching drag queens on YouTube as much as the next person does. So I was like, I love it. So I'll just make some content as well. So please feast on my content and I hope you enjoy.
Feast on Beverly Kills content. I'm going to put the link. It's going to be right here in this video, here, wherever I put it. And then also down in the description, it'll be a pinned comment. So make sure to click it and go subscribe and visit and watch all of her videos.
Yes.
Well, as we are wrapping this out, I have one last question for you. What is a message that you have for the LGBT youth or other individuals who may be considering getting in drag?
Oh, do it for yourself and do it for absolutely no one else. Absolutely no one else. If you want to do drag, it's for you. I was talking to a queen yesterday, like a younger queen in Brisbane, and she was like kind of needing some advice. And she was like, oh, I just don't feel like people understand me. And I was like, that's not your problem. Like it's, you're doing drag is 100% for you. And if people get it, the right people will come to you and the right things will come to you if you put out what you genuinely want to do. Like I've always believed that. And I always find that if I do drag, like if I do a style of drag that I don't particularly like, I won't feel fulfilled. But if I do the drag that I like to do, it's amazing. So if you want to get in drag, do it because you love it and do the drag that you want to do. Like there's no point in trying to be like the queen you saw on Drag Race or trying to be the queen that you saw. You need to be yourself. And it'll take time to figure that out, you know. It's fine. And I'm still figuring that out, as we all fucking know, apparently.
And I think that applies to so many different assets of everybody's life. Like I am starting this week, I start tomorrow shooting a new show, but it's the first time I'm like in a studio and I came up with this idea by myself and I have all of these people I have a script writer and these people that are doing things and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I get to be myself. And I was talking to my boyfriend about it and I was like, you know, I'm a little bit nervous about things and about this and that. Like, what if I do this or should I do this? And then he was like, do what Joseph would do. Don't listen to anybody else and don't do anything else because at the end of the day, if people don't like it, they don't like it. But that's what you got off on. Like, that's your happiness. So I was like, taking that.
100%. Like, just like being I'm a big believer in like being yourself and the right things will come to you eventually. It will take time. But yeah, just be yourself and good luck. You're going to be great. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Well, when you're here in the U.S., you can come and sit down on the couch and you can have a little.
Oh my God. Well, you and I will probably both be equally busy, but I've put forward my little application for DragCon for when the next one is. So yeah.
Yes.
I've got merch to sell. I want to make money and I want to meet some people. You know, I want to have fun.
Meet some people, and then you can come on my live from the DragCon couch because I'll be doing that again. So we'll do that. We'll have a go, and we'll make sure there's no kangaroos there. Or koalas. Thank you so much, Beverly Kills, for being here and chatting with me. Where can everybody find you on the social medias?
It's just the Beverly Kills, Instagram, Facebook, website, wherever you need to find me, I'll be there. Can't get rid of me. So.
Ooh, and then the TikToks. You're on TikTok as well. You followed me before you were on the show, and I followed you shortly before you were on it. And I was like, who is this sexy man? Oh.
I shaved my eyebrows off, so I've lost all my sex appeal, unfortunately. I sacrificed it to dress like a woman. Can you believe? Tragic.
Does your boyfriend say anything about it? Does he get used to it?
I don't think he cares. I think like when we met, I had eyebrows, and then we made it official, and then I like shaved them off for the race. So he was too late. You know, he can't break up with me being like, I'm breaking up with you because you don't have any eyebrows. Like,
You're like,
he'd look like an asshole. He'd look like a shithead. So, but I've gotten really good. It's funny because on Drag Race in the confessional chair, I like painted them on, but I had only just learned how to shape my eyebrows. So I wasn't very good. So I'm very good at putting them on now. So then when I see like footage of myself on the show with these like block, like old James Charles eyebrows, I'm like, oh, no, like so embarrassing.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Beverly Kills. Make sure you guys go and follow her and go see her at World Pride. That's gonna be very exciting. I'm Joseph Shepard. This has been Exposed. Make sure to subscribe, like, write your favorite comments below. Beverly, do you want to do a video message for a random person below? A random comment? We'll pick somebody, a winner, and then you get to give them a little video message?
Yeah. Write down your favorite moment of the interview, and I'll personally send you, hate mail from me to you,
I love that. Hate mail.
It's Cameo, but instead of like encouraging things, it's me just telling you that you suck.
It's a Cammy no.
Well, actually, I think some people are into that actually, because I can be a dominatrix if I need to.
She cracks the whip.
Yeah. Comment below and I'll tell you how much I hate you.
Well, thank you guys so much. Until next time, I'm Joseph Shepard, and that is Beverly Kills.
Bye. Thank you for having me.